Welcome back to some extent. We're finally back in person.
Yeah, back in the studio. Good to be back here.
I agree.
The remote interviews work though. I
They
think.
did. It's just better to be in person.
Yeah, I think it'll sound better too. We produce better stuff in person, I think.
How have you been? Update us on what's been going on.
Yeah, pretty good. Been not doing like too much exciting stuff. Kind of trying to lay low because I'm getting ready to go to Japan on Friday. So I'm pretty excited about that. Going with a few of my buddies from school, and we got pretty lucky because these kind of things are hard to plan out with your friends. And I mean, especially my friends, we aren't great at planning things out either. But props to one of my roommates' moms helped us out, travel agent skills. So yeah, it's we're actually hitting it. We're doing it, and I got a flight on Friday afternoon.
Cool.
So I'm super excited. First time in Asia. First time really anywhere that I don't expect a lot of people to speak English. I don't know how. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people do speak English out there, but less than like Europe where I've been before. So.
Got it. Yeah, I'm jealous. You are going to Asia before I am, and I'm the Asian one.
Yeah. I'll let you know how it is. I'll tell you you should go and visit.
No, that's exciting. That's always exciting when the trip leaves the group chat.
Yeah, I know, because there's always getting stuff off the ground is so tough. Like, there's ideas that get thrown out all the time. But
Right. So everyone wants to do it. It's like, who's going to initiate it and put the first, set up the flights or put the money down first.
Because once you pay for something, I mean, I emphasize this on the Marathon podcast, but once you pay for something, it locks you in for a while. So it having that financial attachment is kind of where we needed to get to. But it's been a long time coming. Like, I don't know, we started planning like 6 months in advance. So
yeah,
it's crazy that's coming up next week.
It's exciting stuff.
Yeah, really, really excited, and I can't. Hopefully, we could do like an episode or a recap on the trip. I know the guest Nolan that we had on a while back also went to Japan this year, so kind of maybe giving our experiences on the podcast would be a good episode.
I'm excited to hear all about it.
Yeah, because I don't feel like a lot of people make it out there. It's not easy to make it out there. It's also really expensive.
See, I feel like more and more people are going to Asia instead of like a European trip now.
Yeah. I think it's cool.
I agree.
It's more, I think you can learn so much more, and it's more outside of your comfort zone than Europe. Maybe.
See, I feel like they're both out of your comfort zone.
Oh, no, I know. But I think, like, I guess this is my personal take, but, like, I think Europe is still somewhat more like Western civilization, and then once you get out to the Eastern civilization, it can kind of be totally flip-flop. Like, things are different out there. They speak a completely different language, and the, like, I don't know, rules and everything it's just not, I feel like it's very not similar to the U.S. So I'm excited to dive into that and learn as much as I can about it and experience everything.
It's exciting.
Yeah. What about you? What you been up to? What are you looking forward to?
I'm opposite of you. I just finished all my travels for at least this summer-ish. I was back home. I went to Vegas, then I was back home, then I was in Montreal and Vermont.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I was gone for like 2 weeks. I'm really happy to be back and back in my own bed, back home, and not living out of a suitcase. It's always fun once you're doing it, but when you get back home, you're like, oh, just better.
Yeah.
After being go. So I'm excited just to chill out and not have to pack up for something for a little bit.
Yeah. What did you think about Montreal?
I loved it. I was pleasantly surprised with both Vermont and Montreal. Never been to either of the places. Montreal's very European. They all speak French as well, so that was pretty cool. All the food in Montreal and Vermont was so good. It's all farm to table, so very fresh food, and there's barely any chain restaurants, which I noticed, which is kind of cool too. So every cafe, every dinner place, coffee shop, whatever it was, all fresh food, homemade.
I feel like I'm noticing some cities kind of trying to move towards that style instead of having like a bunch of chain restaurants. Like people are trying to have their own different unique flavors.
It's definitely more expensive, but the food is so much better. You could totally tell. So that was awesome. Ate a lot of good food. And then spent a lot of time with family, which was definitely needed. It was nice and refreshing. And we were with my dad's side of the family because one of my cousins got married. So
Gotcha.
we haven't seen them in a couple years. So it was nice to reunite and celebrate my cousin who got married.
Yeah, congratulations. That's awesome.
But speaking of changes, we wanted to do a episode on how we've found apartments and how we kind of go our process of finding an apartment, because it's pretty challenging and it's complex process, I would say.
Well, I think to go off that, I think after a year of living in an apartment, like this is the first apartment I picked out on my own, really.
Right. It's our first big girl, big boy
Yeah.
apartment that we're paying for too.
I think it would have been nice to kind of know what I was getting into and what I was signing when I was signing the lease, and some of the things that come with that and signing a year agreement to do something like that. And it's a lot of money that you end up having to pay for an apartment. So over the course of a year-long lease, so there's certain things that I've learned throughout that process, and now I just finished up looking for my second place, and I think that I have taken those learnings from the first place and what I dislike about my apartment now and kind of tried to incorporate those into what I was trying to find in my second apartment.
And that's what's important is, realizing what you want and what you don't want and putting that towards the next place. You can always, grow and do better and find better in a way, as long as it's in your budget.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I'm happy. I think this is a good episode just because if I were in that position back in school again, if I were looking for some tips on how to look for this, I'll try to give you some real experience tips and something that I wish I knew when you're talking to landlords and you're looking for places.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, we'll get into this more, they're trying to do business. So it's not always straight arrow that they're going to give you.
Right. And I also wanted to bring this topic up not only because we both are in the process of doing it right now, so it's timely for us to talk about, but also our audience for the podcast are pretty young. They're our age group, and whether you're leaving college and finding, your first big boy, big girl apartment, or you were at home for a year, a couple years, and now you're ready to go out and find a place. So that's kind of why we wanted to touch on it and give some hopefully helpful advice.
Yeah. But we'll see. I think it will be helpful.
All right. You want to start off on kind of what you look for in an apartment and what are your priorities when looking?
Okay, yeah. So these are going to differentiate between everybody.
Right.
But I do think it's just important to identify these before you start looking for a place. Just to list out some things that you are looking for, some things that are non-negotiable that you need to have, and some things that you can kind of sway on depending on other factors, right?
Right.
So for me, first year out of school, price, I had a limit, and I still ended up probably going over that limit by a little bit.
Yeah.
But I had a limit, and I was like, I need to pay this because I can't really afford to live if I pay more than this, right?
Okay.
You want to make sure you have your basic necessities covered, especially if you're spending more on a place than you think you should be.
Right. Figuring out a budget is huge, especially, we both just had our first years of our jobs, and setting down a budget to start off is really important, and I'm still learning that.
Mm-hmm.
Not a pro about it at all, but that's something my dad sat me down and helped me figure out on an Excel spreadsheet, saying, okay, you make X amount of money, this is how much a month you are able to spend on rent, and then go from there. I think is helpful figuring
Yeah,
out like
just
what
identifying
numbers.
that.
Yeah.
That's usually the biggest factor for most people, I
Right.
think, is worrying about how much money. Because I don't think there's too many college students coming out of college super rich. So we'll see. I think that was definitely a huge factor for the both of us, it seems
Yeah.
like. So
Completely agree.
second one, I would say, is like, this is easy. If you have a car, you need somewhere to put it. I needed a parking place.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was going to have a car. I needed one for my job, so I needed a parking spot. And apartments either offer you a parking spot or they offer you, hey, you can park on the street wherever you want to, but you're not guaranteed a parking spot everywhere you go, and you might have to walk. You might have to park 30 minutes away from your building at sometimes.
Right.
So
It's not like an assigned spot.
yeah, and I was willing to pay for an assigned spot
Mm-hmm.
because I think dealing with the street parking, I mean, sometimes it works out for people, and you see cars parked on the street all over the place, but sometimes it is nice to just have your own spot.
And know it's
Yeah.
guaranteed every time you come home or leave.
Yeah, and I was in a garage too, so didn't have to bury my car out of snow. It was always warm when I got in it, which is nice. So that was something I was willing to pay for, especially if you're using your car a lot.
Parking is expensive too. I don't have a car, so
Yeah.
I don't pay for parking. But even just looking for my next place for next year, I may have a car, and it's a lot of money.
Yeah, you don't realize that. It'll add up, too. It's like...
Right. Because it's on top of your already rent that you're paying is another, $200 sometimes, if
So I
not
think
more.
I would say it ranges from... Parking probably ranges from $100, maybe the cheapest per month. It's what I've been seeing, I guess, to $250 sometimes.
See, I disagree. It
You don't think
depends
so?
on the city.
Okay.
Because, like, here, Shannon, my roommate, pays for parking, and it's only $50. Not
Oh,
only
wow.
$50, but I know it's cheaper than what you're paying.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay,
Yeah,
Denver.
I didn't even know that.
Now I'm looking at places in Chicago and potentially able to have a car. So I'm just curious. There in Chicago, it goes minimum 200.
Yeah.
At least in the locations I'm looking to live in.
It's expensive.
It's so expensive.
Yeah. Plus, you have to. I mean, there's other challenges with having a car too. And I'm gonna be parking my car outside now, so it's gonna be even more of a challenge to kind of, you got to dig it out of the snow, and you have to take care of your car, especially if you live somewhere that snows pretty bad.
Right.
So
And just wanting it to be safe too.
yeah,
Obviously, we're in big cities. If you are parking outside or not in a garage, let's say, you never know what can happen. There's car alarms going off at where we live, our area right now, so often, almost every night. Whether that's, someone trying to break in or an accident, whatever it may be. But I don't know. I think I would rather pay for parking to know my car's safe than
yeah,
it end up going missing. That happened to my neighbor, actually. Like, right when I moved in, his car got robbed. And I remember, like, waking up at 3 a.m. to him, like, screaming at whether it was his girlfriend or wife or whoever it may be, being like, you didn't lock the car. He obviously had
in the garage.
No, out on the street right here.
Wow.
And I totally remember, like, looking out my window. It's, like, pitch black out, almost the morning, and he's just screaming at her because his car is gone.
His entire car was gone.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was
They didn't
screaming
even take the
about
stuff inside. They just took the whole thing.
the whole car.
Wow.
And he was screaming because I think there's obviously something in there that shouldn't have been.
Yeah, but also, your entire car is gone.
Right.
So.
It was like screaming bloody murder, which I probably would have done too, but
Yeah, well, I actually know somebody to go along the lines of that who parked in the garage, had
yeah,
their car broken into.
that's true.
So
Goes
it
that
is,
goes both ways.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes you're just out of luck. Like, you could take all the precautionary measures, but
At least lock your car. That's the best thing you can do.
yeah, that's facts.
And don't leave valuable things.
in your car.
Yeah. Anyway, we went on a tangent about the cars, but
Something to think about though, because cars are expensive. You got to take care of it, and it's something that you got to start paying for all the time, and
Right.
so it is not. It's not a cheap expense to have, and I think obviously parking it depends if you want it, but it's important to me at least.
Right.
Another thing I was gonna mention, which I'm sure like you can attest to, is I know some people who don't have laundry units in their apartment, and it sounds that was something I thought I'd be able to give up, but now that I look at it, I'm like I could manage it, but it's really, 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 really nice to just walk across your living room instead of walking down 4 or 5 flights of stairs to
Right.
get to a conjoined apartment laundry unit.
That is my number one non-negotiable now.
Okay.
Because in college, I went back and forth. Like, obviously, dorms, none of us had in-unit laundry. It was all shared in the sorority house as well. And then my last place, senior year, it was also shared. And that sucked. I mean, that's when I really realized how important laundry is to me. And it's not like I do tons of loads of laundry. It's just sharing laundry with other people. You never know what they put in it. Like, I've had experiences where I did a load of laundry and there ended up being bleach in there from the person before, and all my clothes are ruined.
Wow.
Or, you shrink your clothes because you just, whatever it is. I love having my in-unit laundry. It's a game changer, and it definitely is more pricey, but for me, personally, I've had such bad experiences with community laundry that I would rather pay more to have an in-unit laundry, make sure I know what's going in there, and always access it. Because I've also experienced times where, Sunday rolls around, I'm doing laundry, and they're all taken from other people. So you always had to find those weird, awkward times to do your laundry.
Yeah.
To make sure no one else was there.
Yeah, doing it on a Friday night is
Right.
really the way to go.
And we also had to lug it outside. So if it was snowing, it just sucked.
Yeah.
I agree, though. That wasn't something I thought about in college because I was like, okay, whatever. No laundry. At least it's still there, close by. But then experiencing it, when I looked for my Denver apartment after college, that was my number one thing I needed was laundry.
I think I would still, if it really came down to it, I think I could handle not having it in my unit, but I am lucky that I do have it right now because
It's
a
nice.
luxury for sure.
It is. It definitely is. And I guess to say, it depends on the city because I know Chicago apartments, it's very unusual to have in-unit laundry, at least if you're living in a high-rise. It's usually community laundry. At least that's what I've been seeing. But in Denver, when I was looking, almost every apartment I was looking at had in-unit. So that wasn't, I guess, an issue that I was looking for. So again, it depends on where you're looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the next one that's on my mind goes without saying almost, but it is something we ran into when looking for an apartment was air conditioning.
Yeah.
We toured a few apartments that you'd be surprised that they don't have their own air conditioning. And we saw this super nice apartment. We're like, oh my gosh, it's in our range. Not sure how it's in our range. You tour it and you're like, oh wait, it has no AC.
Right.
You just got to set up a couple industrial fans at all times. And so that was something we didn't even think about. But as soon as we got into that apartment, we were like, no air conditioning is probably something that we need.
Right.
We need air conditioning.
I agree with that too.
So we thought we had found the place, and then it turned out that one thing killed it.
Right. And that's not something you would look for compared to parking and in-unit laundry, because I guess it would escape my mind too. But knowing that apartments have AC is a game changer as well.
Yeah, or in-unit AC. Because you can kind of switch it on your little air conditioning monitor or whatever. And I think, it's just to not waste your time touring a place if you're like, oh wait, air conditioning is something I thought every place would have.
Right.
Make sure it has it. Just take a look. It's an easy 2-second process.
Yeah,
just
I agree.
to look for it. But that's what we ran into, yeah. I don't know, what else is there? What do you got in your mind?
Recently, at least for this year, the apartment we're sitting in right now, it's 2 bed, 2 bath. so we don't have to share a bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something I did all throughout college, and I really love not sharing a bathroom.
Gotcha.
Especially like girls, I feel like we have a lot of stuff. I have a lot of stuff, especially bathroom stuff, and it's nice just to be organized and clean and have my own space, especially like with toiletries and hair stuff. And you know, I have a lot of hair. Hair gets everywhere. It grosses you out. I remember like sharing a shower with 3 of my best friends, and it just was always a shit show of who's gonna clean it, whose hair was in it,
Yeah.
clogging it, whatever. Sorry, I know that's kind of TMI, but it's the reality of sharing a bathroom, especially with girls. So that's been something. Again, I feel like it could be like I'd rather have in-unit laundry than 2 bathrooms, but that's just me. But I would love to have still 2 bathrooms.
Yeah.
Like my
I think
own
the other way
bathroom.
around, honestly. I used to share a bathroom with 3 other guys,
Yeah.
and it was a really small, tiny bathroom, just pretty much shower, toilet, sink, pretty much on top of each other.
It was tiny.
Yeah, really, really small, and that got old pretty quick and got pretty gross. And also competing for the hot water, competing for space in the bathroom, especially if you all have to be somewhere at the same time, or like, it can be a terrible morning at the beginning. So I'm happy to say I do have my own bathroom now, and it makes it a lot easier. You can kind of, like, as you said, keep it clean, keep it the way you want it to be.
Right.
If you want it dirty, keep it dirty. Nobody's gonna complain.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's your own.
Yeah.
So you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, but then it's also your responsibility at all times to clean it up and to take care of it.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to realize that too. It's just like, you know, like, there are problems with bathrooms. Like, you got clogging. Sometimes there's like, even like showers. Like, sometimes showers clog up.
I
like,
know.
I didn't know that. Like, you have to figure that out. So I think it is nice. I would rather have my own bathroom personally than
I do too.
laundry. But
Okay, so those are kind of all more in unit. Let's get into like amenities, because at least right now I live in an apartment complex, and I knew I wanted to live in an apartment complex because usually those come with more amenities. So for me, I have a gym and a pool and an office center, like business center, I would say, where you can go work, free Wi-Fi, it's a little cafeteria, and free coffee, which is nice too. Especially like with remote work now, I use the free coffee, not the actual room too much. But those things are also so nice to have, because then, you know, this year I didn't have to pay for a gym membership. I just used my gym. And the pool is super nice in the summer, which we've been using a lot so far. And it's not even the peak of summer yet. So those are 2, or I guess amenities was something else I was really interested in and knew I wanted for my first place out of college. And they're just nice to have.
yeah, they are nice to have. I think so too. Amenities weren't huge on my list though. For me, it was like I didn't really care that much. My building kind of comes with a lot of the same stuff that yours does, but I think I could go without using them or without having them.
But then it's like, if you have a gym and you still just go pay for another gym membership, like, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Like, then look for a place without a gym and then just put that money towards a gym membership or whatever else you want to do.
Yeah. That's kind of what I gave up now.
Right.
When hunting for my other one is just, I was like, I don't need any of these amenities. I don't use the pool at my apartment. I don't use the business center. It's nice to have if you think you're going to use them. But if you're not going to use them, save the money. And like, if you're like, oh, maybe I'll go to the pool once or twice, you don't need to be paying a couple $100 extra to have a pool if you're going to go once or twice.
See, I love mine.
I know. It's a personal preference thing. And it's nice that it's there. It's not something I need.
Right.
Is, I guess, for what I...
No, and that makes sense. I get it.
So I think thinking about how often you're going to use them, the first apartment that we picked out, like right after school, I was like, oh yeah, let's have a building that has everything. Like that'd be really cool. Like I want it all in one spot. And then also, since I I don't totally leave the house or leave the building that often anymore.
Because you're remote.
I have everything there.
Right.
So it can also have like give or take, right? So like if I do use the gym, I'll look back at 7 p.m. and I haven't left the building yet. I haven't left the building the whole day. So
I get what you're saying, but then in a way it's nice because then you don't have to leave. Okay, but you have a car, so you have more freedom. I don't.
Yeah.
So for me, it's so nice.
Also, yeah, you got to weigh those opportunities, right? If you have a car in a parking spot, you can have access to going to a gym somewhere else.
Right. Like that's why I knew going into this year I wasn't going to have a car, so I wanted everything super close by. If you guys love gold jewelry as much as I do, you have to check out Slide Jewels. Slide Jewels is a jewelry brand that crafts contemporary and affordable pieces from high-quality stainless steel. From earrings, necklaces, rings, and bracelets, Slide has pieces for everyone. Use code TOSOMEEXTENT to get 30% off your purchase. Links and promo code will be in the show notes, so check it out. Again, for me not having a car here, another thing I really looked for was making sure the area I was picking to live was walkable. So in my area, we have 2 grocery stores right there and I can walk to it. Worst case scenario, if, I couldn't go with you and drive. So that's super important. And, I guess Denver in general is a pretty walkable city. So I didn't have that hard of a time figuring out where to live, but I really wanted to make sure I was by at least a grocery store because that's a necessity. Walking distance.
Yeah.
And
that was my number one non-negotiable was like location.
Yeah.
So I kind of picked a certain location I wanted to live for this apartment and for the other apartment that I picked out, and I was like, these are where I want to live, and like I almost will not move into a place if it's not in this area.
Yeah.
Because I felt like in terms of my experience, location can be such like a huge, it's like also where you're living, right? So you could have a great place, but if you're living in an area that you don't like, or maybe it's really hard to get to, maybe it's, I don't know, like a little dangerous, or
you don't have people around you even.
Yeah, exactly. It can be hard to kind of like form the rest of your life around that location.
Right.
And I guess in my experience, that location was so important to me because I was like, this is like the type of kind of life that I wanted to move into and live. And the location is going to be the biggest part of that. That's going to have my surroundings, my environment is going to be all around me. Whenever I step out of my place, which I hope not to spend all my time in my room or apartment.
Yeah.
Like, that's the area I'm surrounded in, and that's going to determine how the rest of my life is going. So, like, I thought it was so important to me to be in an area that I was excited about, to be in an area that I felt like connected with where my ideals in life were going. Like, that's what I wanted to kind of pick.
I agree. So, I guess both of us, Denver was a new city, but how do you pick what location you want to live in? What neighborhood, what area?
Yeah.
How do you figure out what's the best area for you? You already knew, you asked people, you asked around, or what's your process?
A little bit of both. I think take Denver. I'd never really been to Denver ever before I even moved here. And I asked around a little bit, had heard from some other people. But what I was looking for was like, I wanted a young area out of school.
Right.
And I wanted other people to be young and out of school around me. And then I wanted things to do that other young and out of school people were doing.
Right.
That was close to me. So we live very close to some of the sports stadiums around here. We live very close to a lot of the bars and the activities around here that attracts more of a younger crowd than some of the other spots in Denver. So I wanted to, those were what I was looking for. And then you start to ask people around. If you don't know anybody, you would just have to kind of look. You can do a quick, easy research on it.
Yeah, research it.
But that was like kind of figuring out what environment you want to be a part of will allow you to narrow down your search.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a very similar type of thing when finding my new place.
Okay.
Was I knew a few more people around there and kind of had heard a little bit more about it. It wasn't as foreign to me as moving to Denver.
Yeah.
But I think it's something that you should drill down on before you even start looking for a place is what area do I want to be in? Because that will determine every part of your life that is not inside of your apartment or inside of your building.
Yeah. I guess, too, if you have the opportunity to, when we decided we were going to move to Denver after college, you came to visit me, and at the time I still was in Boulder, but we took a whole day just to drive around Denver. Because we both, I mean, I would come here for nights out and stuff, but never actually knew each neighborhood. So we literally drove around and kind of got a feel for each neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. If you can get a feel for the neighborhood, that would be huge.
That is like super helpful, especially moving to a new city. That was super helpful for us, and then that's how we figured out we wanted to live in the area we are now. But also, of course, reaching out to people you know in those areas and see what they liked about it, what they disliked, what they recommend. For me, I had older girls in my sorority move out to Denver the year before me, so I just texted them and asked them about apartment complexes, where they lived, what they liked, what they didn't like, and that was super helpful, just getting, because they're similar to me. We went to the same school, we were in the same sorority, I wanted the same things as I'm sure they did, so that was super helpful. And then for me, I use Zillow and apartments.com the most for apartment searches, and it does a really good job because it has filters. Not sure if you guys have used these before or not, but you can filter out, your price range, how many beds you want, how many baths, all the other amenities. So you can click, in-unit laundry, check, pool, gym, whatever else you may need, and it narrows it down for you. So those two sites are super helpful. And then I also just kind of go on maps and look around the area, and you can kind of zoom in on places, if I really wanted this certain area, what apartment complex is around this area, and then do further research there, which I think is helpful as well. That's how I found my current place, is just literally Google searching. I knew I wanted to be in this area, and this was like the central place. And I guess you already lived here because you moved in before me, so I woke up one morning and there was a unit open here, and I knew I wanted to live in this apartment complex, so I ran over right when they opened their leasing office and was like, please, 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 let me get this apartment. And that's how it happened. So I went in person because I was here and was able to, but there are still a lot of virtual tours if you were moving to a new city that you don't currently live in, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think so. Yeah, they do a great job of allowing you to kind of just thumb down what you need and kind of dial in on really what you're looking for. And I want to preface, just I guess emphasize that when you go and tour a place, make sure you know what you really, really want and know what you're looking for and know what your non-negotiables are. Have that in your head. Don't just tour it and be like, oh yeah, I could maybe live here. I guess you'll get the vibe of it, but if you don't have those things drilled down, you may not get some of the things that you thought you might need.
Right.
So I think that's super important to have. I know I didn't really know what I needed, what I didn't in my first place, and I didn't even really put that much thought into it. And I think there's certain things that I think about now that I really put into finding my next one, because I'm this stuff is important, but I did not know this when I was looking for my first place.
I mean, it is a learning experience, and it's also a place you'll be living for at least a year. So you want to be picky about it. I'm super picky about my place, and I knew exactly what I wanted, and I wasn't going to settle for less. And I think that's why I got this place, and it's perfect. It has literally everything I wanted and in my budget as well, which is huge and not that common, to be honest. But be picky. It's somewhere you're going to live. I take that very seriously because you don't want to hate the place you live, especially if, yeah, you're going to leave in a year, but you could resign if you love it. So my advice would be picky and be honest if you're working with a realtor or whatnot. And, if you tour a place, you don't have to say yes to the first place you tour just because it's there and easy. It definitely is a process. I mean, at least for me, I start looking at least 2 months out before my move-in date. And I think that's helpful. I'm moving in August 1st and I still haven't found a place yet and I'm like nervous. Mm-hmm. But it'll come. It also will come. There are always so many places open and it's a fun process though. I actually enjoy it. I love looking at places and comparing and contrasting and seeing the different characteristics each place has and, looking at brownstones versus apartment complexes like high rises and the character. So have fun with it if you can.
It's a daunting task though. It's not a fun. I don't really think it's fun. Honestly. I know you like it more, but I don't.
It's not like I
don't really like it that much. It's a chore for me.
Yeah, you've been lucky though because your roommates kind of take the lead. I'm that roommate that takes the lead and will find the place. Like I know I'll find it, if that makes sense. Like I want it to be how I want it to be.
I get it. Yeah.
I'm like a control freak in that way. I want my place to meet all my criteria.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I have been lucky not having to completely take the reins and having to tour everything. And I can see how that process can be super annoying.
Yeah.
But on that end, I did want to call out a certain issue that I kind of noticed when I was looking. I didn't do any touring for my apartment now or my apartment in the future, but actually I did do one tour. And I think something I was looking for was, when you get on these tours, there's usually a person who is taking you around the apartment that either leases the apartment or manages the property. And they show you around the apartment, tell you about all the good stuff that they have, tell you about the way that they just remodeled this place like a year ago or something, like, give you all the glamorous stuff. And if you don't ask certain things, they're not going to just offer these up. They're not going to offer you up like, oh yeah, about this. Yeah. Like, I'm like, so say like, oh, there's like we don't have air conditioning here. Like if you didn't ask, I'm sure they probably wouldn't
tell you.
So, because they're, at the end of the day, these people are trying to make money.
Right.
And they are selling you something.
Mm-hmm.
So it may sound like, all right, this person's really cool, like, and they may be really cool and really nice and really open about things, but they are trying to make money, and they're trying to make money off of you because they're trying to sell you something. So if they don't tell you some of the things some of the nuances that come with getting in the apartment, and you don't ask, you may not find out until you move in there and you're completely signed into a lease. So one example I'll give is I signed my place this year, and what happened was, something I would never think about, but we have a balcony, but it kind of looks into more of an alleyway and not like directly out into the sunlight or whatever. First of all, we don't get very much sun. That's not something I really thought about. But my apartment doesn't get very much sun.
It's literally dark.
Yeah. It's pretty much dark all the time. And obviously that is something that kind of like sucks if you're spending a good amount of time in the apartment. But the leasing person had told us that they collect trash one day a week in the alleyway. Mm-hmm. So a trash compactor, a trash truck comes over, grabs these bins out of the trash in the alleyway, and then leaves. What he didn't decline to tell us is that The other buildings also put their trash there, and they come by one a week, and they come different days of the week.
No, they come every single day.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying is each apartment building comes into that alley one day a week.
Oh.
But that apartment building that I live in only comes in on Wednesdays. The one next to us comes in on Tuesdays. The one after that, the one across the street, comes in on Thursdays. So now I have every morning at 7 a.m., 5 days a week, trash trucks with the loud beep, 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 and then boom, boom.
And it happens for like an hour.
An hour at least.
It's not like, oh, it's a 10-minute thing and they're done. It's an hour long.
Every day at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
I don't even have to set my alarm clock.
It's pretty bad.
Because I'm up at 7 a.m. every day. You can't sleep through it. And that is not something that I would have ever thought to ask.
Right.
And it's something that you need to think about. Ask, when does a trash guy come? I don't know, like what? And the person's going to be like, oh, yeah, I guess didn't think about that. Yeah, they come here. Like, I don't know. Like, it's something that, like, you never would have think about, but it now affects my daily life.
Yeah.
So.
But it's based on the experience. You know, other units in your apartment don't experience
don't,
that. It's just your unit does, or at least that side of the building. So that is really good advice, because even, you know, one of our friends lives on the first floor in her pool court. And it's like she never can open her blinds because there's always people right there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not something I would think about either. You know, having a pool view, I'd be like, oh, fun. But then I guess floor view or first.
Your ground floor.
Yeah,
maybe.
like you always are going to have people kind of looking through or on the sidewalk, whatever it may be. So that's something else to think about. Going off your story, I also didn't think about, I mean, okay, we live in a city too, so no matter what, it's going to be noisy. I didn't expect it to be quiet, but across my street is a new building being built. And it's been being built since I moved in, and it probably will continue until I move out. So, again, going off your noise complaint, I deal with, you know, the construction happening 5 times a week, and so loud too.
Yeah,
and
just take a quick scan of where you're going to live.
Yeah, I work at home too, so, you know, I'll be in a meeting and like the door open for fresh air, and it's just like beep, beep, beep.
Yeah.
Construction noises.
Like people yelling.
Screaming, whistles blowing. They're all really nice construction people, but again, it's not something I thought about and didn't consider to be a huge issue. But that is something I will look into in my next apartment, is to make sure that area around me isn't going to be overloaded with construction. Also, like, sometimes they completely cross off our streets too because of the construction. Like, you can't even get down them.
Streets. Yeah, it's super
so
annoying.
It's like little things that end up being big things when you live in that area.
And obviously you can't ask everything.
Right.
You can't remember everything.
Right.
And there are certain things that they were probably not going to tell you, but just to have a few things in the back of your mind to ask about. And they might be stupid questions. The guy might be like, or like the person might look at you and be like, why would you ask that? That's so obvious. Does this place have air conditioning? Yeah, of course it does.
But at least you know.
But yeah. At least
I'd
you know.
rather sound dumb in that second than live a whole year without AC or without construction or whatever it may be. Another story is, okay, I like love being outside, and Denver usually has like great weather. Right now it's not so hot, but I really was so excited about having a pool. And when I toured, the pool at my apartment was under construction. So I asked, how long will this be under construction? I moved in the summer, so I really wanted to use it. And the guy touring me said 2 weeks.
Yeah,
so I was like, okay,
I'll
put up with that. That's so easy. 2 weeks, and then I could have it the rest of the summer, and then all of next summer. It didn't get finished until May.
It's probably like 10 months.
Yeah. It was not that I was going to use it in this winter, but we do have a hot tub. Like, we could have used that after skiing and stuff.
Yeah, but it was also like the courtyard was closed.
Yeah.
We had at least another month of hot weather when we were
so
here,
annoying.
and then a few months in the beginning of the summer.
Yeah, it was
in the spring.
It was pretty bad. It was a pretty bad lie on his part.
Well, that's the thing, is like they will fib to you a little bit
Oh, yeah.
and maybe lie to you just so they get you to sign the place. Because
Right.
once you're in the agreement,
You can't get
You
out.
can't get out unless you
Yeah.
pay an exorbitant amount of money.
Yeah.
So they're looking to get you in, and they may be the nicest person in the world, but you have to make sure that you know exactly what you're getting into and you're okay with, like, someone says, yeah, we don't have a pool for a couple weeks. Are you okay with having a pool for the whole year? Because that could be what happens.
Yeah. And I know it's a little thing. We're just sharing just to make you aware of our situations and things that we've experienced that, we would want to prevent for others. So that's why I wanted to share these, not to scare anyone or anything. Otherwise, like, I've had a great experience, and I am still looking at, like, other apartment complexes that I love. Apartment complexes, like, that's my shit. That's my jam.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, things to think about when looking. I wish, like, someone would tell me these things, when I was looking.
No, I think it's a good way to. This I think is a really informative episode, just because, like, when you're straight out of a place and you're straight out of school, I don't know, and you're looking for a place, you don't know any of this, and maybe you're, like, super busy, or, like, you're just trying to find a place and move, and, like, there's a bunch of, like, stressors that are going on.
Yeah.
And you're just like, all right, I need a place. I need somewhere to live. I don't care about any of this. And you get there and you're like, wow, I actually do care about a lot of this.
Right.
And so it's something I've been able to adjust over this year when finding a new place. But it's something I had to deal with and figure out for myself.
Yeah.
So maybe this video will help you a little bit. Save you some time, maybe a year.
But remember, it is a learning experience. Not every place is going to be completely perfect in the way you want. I hope it is. I really do. But, learn from it.
If you're going to leave with anything, ask as many questions as you can.
Yeah.
Get all the information down and then make your decision.
Yeah, write out your priorities. That's literally what I did.
Don't assume anything.
Prioritize what you really want, and then maybe ask all those questions based on your priorities and go from there.
Yeah. That's great. Think outside the box. Nothing is obvious.
Even if you think it is.
Go into this thinking that you are an investigator into a crime or something, because you need all the information. You need everything you can think about. And then you'll be set up, and I think you'll have a good experience.
But yeah, thanks for sharing your advice and your insight on looking for apartments.
Yeah, no, I think this will be a helpful episode, so appreciate you guys listening too.
Happy Tuesday, everyone.
Yep, happy Tuesday. See ya.
Bye.